What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video, I'm going to be running through Digistruct Peak at overpowered level 8 with Sniper Zero. There are a couple of reasons I'll be doing this. One, I really enjoy running through Digistruct Peak. It's one of my favorite things in the game, but also because I have very recently hit 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, which by itself is kind of an arbitrary number. It's not that different than 49,000, which I just came from, or 51,000, which I'm already on the way to. However, it is halfway to a mile marker that YouTube itself actually recognizes. At 100,000 subscribers, YouTubers are eligible to receive a silver play button, which they send out a couple times a year. And that's kind of cool, you know, that's a significant milestone that you guys have helped me reach. You're the whole reason. You know, I assume if you're watching this video, you're a subscriber. But regardless, you know, the subscribers, you guys, the viewers in general, have helped me reach this number. And it's a not insignificant number. My channel gets a fair number of views and everything, and obviously that's all thanks to you guys, basically. I very much appreciate that. Obviously, I make the videos, but you guys are the ones who watch them. It's kind of a two-way street. And so, yeah, I very much enjoy making these videos. When I had started making the videos, I didn't necessarily plan to continue to do so for this long. However, it became very fun, and, you know, I enjoyed it more and more, and I still very much enjoy it. And so that's why I kind of kept it going and everything. When I had started YouTube, it was, or at least started uploading Borderlands 2 videos, like I had watched YouTube for a while. But when I had started making videos for Borderlands 2 and putting them on YouTube and everything, it was because Ultimate Vault Hunter mode had very recently come out for Borderlands 2. And in my opinion, that saved the game. It made it so much better. It gave it so much more replayability and everything. And that was definitely something that I very much enjoyed about the game. However, the jury was definitely hung on whether people on the whole seemed to like Ultimate Vault Hunter mode or not. And some people were very vocal about the fact that they thought it was terribly unbalanced, and I definitely didn't think this. I thought that it finally brought balance to the game, so to speak. I thought that True Vault Hunter mode was very unbalanced. We kind of got the shitty spawn in here, but we'll work through it. Regardless, I didn't like True Vault Hunter mode. I didn't really like Borderlands 2 before Ultimate Vault Hunter mode was out. And so what I did was just make some videos kind of showing that, hey, at Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, Melee Zero, which was something that people were really whining about, is still excellent. In fact, at level 61 in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, he was way better than he was in True Vault Hunter mode at level 50, because it actually allowed him to get Mini Mustfall and Death Blossom, which, you know, definitely makes him a much more dynamic character and a much more fun character to play, especially against enemies that actually posed some threat, you know, whereas in True Vault Hunter mode they didn't. But basically that's why I started making videos, was I liked Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and I could tell that there were a lot of people that didn't, so I wanted to make some videos that showed that Ultimate Vault Hunter mode was cool. And I think I did that, you know. I think a lot of people took note of that. I started to gain traction pretty early, and then I made one video in particular which got quite a few views, and then we built from there. And, you know, that kind of got us to where we are now and everything, at 50,000 subscribers. And I plan to keep going, you know. YouTube's still fun, and I'll do it until it's not fun, basically. So that's one of the things that I'm pretty happy about, you know. It's been fun so far, and I plan to keep doing it, basically. Some people had asked if I'm going to start playing some other other games on this channel, and yeah, absolutely, I plan to start doing some other games on this channel eventually. I have done primarily Borderlands 2 up until this point, obviously. I plan to do some Borderlands the pre-sequel content, but I ended up not liking that game, so didn't really end up doing that, and instead have stayed primarily with Borderlands 2, and I think Borderlands 2 is a game that I consider a work of art. I very much enjoy it. Very, very much enjoy it. And one of the games that I plan to play through before too long is The Secret of Monkey Island. I've actually started working on that playthrough a little bit, so that should be fun. It's a game that is a point-and-click adventure game, a genre that a lot of people said died at one point, that it, you know, ceased to exist. However, I think that basically it kind of evolved into what Telltale Games makes. They obviously have a pretty popular Walking Dead series. They even have a Game of Thrones and Borderlands 1. I think they did a couple others as well. They have them on a few different subject matter, I guess. But that's what I think the point-and-click adventure genre kind of evolved into. And so it's kind of cool to go back and see one of those games that kind of set the standard for the series, or the genre, I guess. It's considered a classic. It's another game that I consider to be a work of art. Some people, maybe not so much, but me definitely. So we got one of the Scorches dead there. That makes a big difference. Like I said, this is not the ideal spawn here, but we can work through it. Cool, so we're halfway done now. We've killed half the surveyors and half of the Scorches. 2 and 1s, respectively. Now only one more of each left. I don't want to do too much more work on the Scorch just in case this little bastard comes and tries to heal him and messes everything up. We don't want that. Alright, now we can get rid of this Scorch. We still have plenty of ammo. I think we must have walked over some of the surveyors, so that made a difference. Some of the surveyors' ammo drops, obviously, was what I meant to say there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy watching The Secret of Monkey Island and any other games that I plan to put up in the near future. You know, if I find another game that I like as much as Borderlands 2, expect to see a lot of content of that game. But right now, Borderlands 2 still has me very interested. There are a lot of things I still plan to do on Borderlands 2. As far as video production goes, we have quite a few more videos to make. Obviously, I'm going to finish that legitimate Zero that I have built, despite the fact that I enjoy gibbing more than playing with legitimate gear. But regardless, set a goal. I'm going to attain that goal. And yeah, so we'll finish that playthrough. I said I'd do a Melee Zero playthrough at Overpower Level 8 too. I don't think I've done a 60 FPS Melee Zero playthrough, which is kind of a shame. It's something that needs to be done. So that's what we'll do. And there's some other stuff that I'll make content for as well. We'll see how it goes, basically. I definitely need to do that Melee Zero guide, but that's on the back burner because it sounds like a ton of work. I'll do it eventually, though. And definitely thank you to all the guys and girls out there, all the people who watch the videos, basically, that really, have helped me along. It's definitely more enjoyable when people like what you put out, I guess. There are obviously some people who seem not to like what I put out, but that's okay. They can hate if they want to. Jeez. She missed so bad that it just wrecked me. Thought I was in a good position. Alright, so she's kind of tough. If we can get some good critical hits on her, though, be a big difference. That was an inopportune time to reload, but we're alright. Cool, so we're going to get past Yukino's mom, and we'll continue here. I guess if I wanted to question why the haters don't seem to like my channel too much, there are a couple reasons. One, I've been pretty vocal about not liking consoles. The short explanation, which we might get back to, is I think consoles hold games back. And we'll get back to that a little bit later, I guess. The second being that I've been vocal about the fact that I thought Yodislaya was a bad person. Yodislaya, for those who don't know, was a very, very popular Borderlands 2 YouTuber. He, was one of the people, I guess, who had said that Ultimate Vault Enter mode was unbalanced and everything. Perhaps in that way, he was one of the people that somewhat contributed to me starting YouTube. Definitely not an inspiration for me by any means, but, he was one of those people saying something that irritated me enough to inspire me to make videos. There were quite a few of them that were saying it, though, and it definitely wasn't just him. One thing that he did, though, was he had made a video about farming for the Infinity, which is, the legendary Vladoff pistol. At the time, the Infinity was glitched and would not drop from Doc Mercy in True Vault Hunter mode or higher. and he had made a very obviously faked video that said it did. I made a parody video of that at the time. This parody video just very much took the piss out of it, and very obviously had a fake infinity drop from the character or the boss that he said was dropping the infinity. And it was meant to be very, very fake. Some people didn't understand that, I guess, but it's hard to do anything and have somebody understand it these days, I guess. Regardless, I had made that video, and that was the one video I made very early on that got a ton of views. For a while, it was my most viewed video. Since then, several have passed it. And some people got mad about it, but basically the deal was he had lied about something. Well, I hadn't worried too much about it. Some people were very mad that I had made that video or whatever. The fact remained that he lied, and so that's why that video is still up today. And some people had asked me to take that video down. The reason that I'm not going to take that video down is because he died lying. He said, "Hey, I'm never going to drink and drive again." And then he went out and he died drinking and driving. Now, I really have no sympathy for drunk drivers. It's something that I see as a deplorable, near unforgivable crime. It shows a supreme lack of respect for everyone else. It's so incredibly selfish, I find it hard to describe just how selfish I feel that it is. You are putting in danger literally people that you would never meet. Just anybody random on the road you have endangered. That just seems so incredibly wrong to me that I can't... I have a huge problem with it, you know what I mean? Drunk driving is a terrible crime. It's never affected me, personally. I have never... Like, some people think, oh, you hate drunk driving so much, you must have seen somebody die that way or something. Not at all. Drunk driving has never directly impacted my life. No one I know... Even secondary, no one that I am close friends with has had somebody lost to drunk driving. However, you don't need to see you don't need it to affect you personally to not like it. You know what I mean? Like, no one I know has been murdered, but I'm still not a fan of murder. I think the same goes with everybody, but for whatever reason, people want to forgive drunk driving. I don't forgive drunk driving. And he got a DUI, which should have been a wake-up call. And the stats say, the studies say, you don't get caught your first time drinking and driving. You don't get caught your second time drinking and driving, which would indicate to me that this was a habitual behavior for him. For him to, one, get caught drinking and driving, it indicates that he has drinking and driven multiple times, especially if you listen to the little story he told trying to mitigate his crime the first time, because he made a couple videos about it. There's evidence that he was a regular drunk driver. So, just based on that alone, I really have a huge problem being alright with him, And there are some people that just hate me for that, because I've said, hey, he was a piece of shit. But that's my opinion, If you don't agree, you don't have to. If you don't think drunk driving makes someone a piece of shit, that's on you, man. That's all on you. But I disagree. I think the only people who drink and drive, especially after getting a DUI, are pieces of shit. And if they kill themselves drinking and driving, they absolutely deserved it. And some people have gotten very mad because I said he deserved it. I wasn't out there wishing him to die. No, definitely not. I don't wish anybody to just die, right? But if you do something that inherently dangerous, that inherently selfish, and one of the things that often happens when you do that is death, yeah, you deserve it. That's all there is to it, you know what I mean? And I don't really have too much more to say on the matter. That's probably the last time I'm going to address it in a video. I want to move past that, but there's some people who have a real hard time moving past it, and they still come to my videos and try to talk shit about it, you know what I mean? And that's fine. They can do that. That's their choice. I usually just ban them at this point. I don't really have the patience to deal with it anymore. I get too many comments to worry about all of those things. So that's why I just kind of ban the people who talk shit about it now. I really have nothing more to say about it. He was a piece of shit. You don't drink and drive. And then, people are supposed to feel bad for you? No way. Not at all. And some people say, oh, you lack empathy or forgiveness then. Some people are just too afraid to let anyone be accountable for their own actions. It's a phenomenon that I don't really understand, but it is growing in popularity. People don't want anybody to be accountable for anything. I don't get it personally. It's not something that will ever make sense to me. I've always been of the mind that, hey, if you do something, take responsibility for it. You've done it, and you are liable for the repercussions. It's not, he drunk and drove again. Let's give him another chance. Nah, fuck that, dude. Just no. You know what I mean? Like, this dude missed 7 free throws this last game. Fucking bench him. Obviously, that's on a much smaller scale, but you make mistakes, get fucked, You're responsible for them. You have to make amends for them. You can't just expect people to forgive you for them. And people shouldn't just forgive people who drunk drive if they don't make amends for it. And obviously he didn't. You know what I mean? He went out and did it again. Killed 2 other people. Obviously they were his passengers. They knew what they were signing up for. They knew him. They knew he was a drunk driver. Basically, I'm going to get a few more critical hits on this guy and then we're moving forward. Some people just find it hard to accept that I don't like the guy. And I guess that's fine. Some people are like, oh, he was a father. Any father who cares about his children isn't out there drinking and driving. And some people are going to just get massively butthurt over that statement. People who love their children don't drink and drive. It's not while their children are under their care, especially. Like, I don't know if he was watching them that night or whatever, of course. He probably wasn't. There's no way he was. I would imagine anybody would be more responsible than that. But, like, when you're still financially backing them and everything, when they're adolescents, dude, that is... I don't understand how anyone would try to mitigate or defend that crime. That's pathetic. Jeez, having trouble killing that Doc Mercy. Alright. Hopefully we can start moving a little bit faster because I need to carry this critical ascension to the assassins. So, I don't know. If anyone has anything to say about the Yodi Celia thing, I'm just going to delete it. I've made up my mind, nothing's going to change it. And some people might see that as obstinate or stubborn. Yeah, I'm an obstinate and stubborn person. That's how it be. So, some people ain't going to like that. That's okay. That's on them. At the worst, I'm just another guy who hates drunk driving. So, beyond that, though, another reason why I think people don't really, like me in some cases is the fact that I've been vocal about the fact that I don't like consoles. And like I said, I think that's because consoles hold games back. Like I said a little bit earlier, there are certain games that I consider to be works of art. And I want gaming to be more respected on the whole. I want more games to be made like art. And there's a huge problem right now in gaming, besides consoles, that is definitely holding games back from truly being art. And that is the publisher, I think it's called a publisher, and developer relationship. Obviously, this is a game that was marred by console limitations to an extent. 2K really wanted more content for Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 was a wildly successful game. At the time, I believe it was 2K's most successful game. And as a result of that, they wanted more and more content for the game. However, in a post made by a Gearbox developer, specifically on their old forum, which I believe is now defunct, and you might not be able to find this post, which does sound a little bit fishy, but trust me here. there was a post made by a developer that said, due to the way that Borderlands 2 was made, there was a problem adding more assets, be it weapons or other loot, to the game because the global loot pool or memory assets needed to all be loaded in the memory at once, which is difficult to do when the consoles only have so little memory and everything. And so that's why they had to kind of stop major DLC production for the game, because the consoles couldn't handle it anymore. 2K still wanted more content, of course, and since they kind of foot the bill, they kind of make the rules. We'll get back to that in a little bit. They said, hey, produce anything you can. So Gearbox made those Headhunter packs, which added a little bit to the game, but if you remember, none of them had extra guns or shields or grenades or any gear, basically. They did have a couple missions, and they were kind of fun in that regard. That said, it disappoints me that the game had to be held back by what the consoles could do, you know? That's a little bit sad to me. It doesn't seem like, if we're truly talking about art, that games should ever be limited by the lowest common denominator, which is what seems to happen, basically. Instead of producing PC first and then scaling down, they produce lowest common denominator, this generation, the Xbox One, and then scale up, which obviously has inherent problems at the high end. And I think that's a shame, because someone who would truly develop a game as art or be committed to gaming as art probably wouldn't want to be limited by their medium if possible. And because of the way that the developer producer ecosystem works right now, got a lucky boar there, it's not likely to change, I would say, very much, because the publisher, they're going to want that money, basically. They're going to need it, you know, because they paid the bill for the game. And it's very obvious that the new consoles even are not up to par with what gaming experiences need to be, what they should be in today's world. The PS4 and, geez, I need to get this guy on some different terrain or something. The PS4 and Xbox One were much weaker at release than the PS3 and Xbox 360 were. And that's just a simple fact. And because of that, they're going to fall behind quicker in comparison to contemporary PC parts. And as a result of that, games for PC are going to be inherently weaker or lesser than they could be. Obviously, at the end of the Xbox 360 PS3 life cycle, we very much saw games that were obviously hindered. Very obviously. Oh, geez, there's still this guy too. By the limitations of the console. And that's sad. You know what I mean? I just wish games weren't constricted to every now and then upgrades, you know? Games should be made for whatever the best is at that time, or possibly even more. And I think that would benefit everybody. Right now, console games, and don't get me wrong, there have been games that would very easily, qualify for being called works of art on console. Definitely. One that, has been reproduced ad nauseum is Zelda Ocarina of Time. Unfortunately, at the time, it was made for the N64, which, it's hard to even find an N64 these days. Luckily, they released it more and more on other platforms, and I think there's like a fairly decent 3DS version or something right now. I don't know. So that's a game that, is called by many a work of art, and is at least still available despite the fact that its console has expired. Now there's another game, Shadow of Colossus, that was on the PS2, and it's not quite as easy to play. You have to basically get an emulator. And that's kind of aggravating, right? Ironically, a game that wasn't on PC is almost exclusively playable on PC now, unless for whatever reason you happen to have a PS2 sitting around. That's kind of shitty. You can't really deny that that's kind of shitty. Especially since that was a game that the developer, the artist, everybody who worked on that game, it was probably a labor of love, you know? It was what they set out to make, and it's still considered a classic to this day because of that. And so it's a shame that some games are being held back by consoles, basically. And that's why I don't like them. I don't want to say that people who play console are bad people. They're not. You know what I mean? What I will say, though, is that it does seem counterintuitive and definitely weird to me that someone would say they are, like, someone who cares about gaming and then basically monetarily support an anti-consumer product that hurts games and gamers. Beyond the fact that I think consoles are limiting games, it also feels that they're taking advantage of gamers. And I feel that games and gamers aren't really going to be respected until consoles are obsoleted, faded out. You know what I mean? Why would someone respect the console environment? Like, when you think about it, it's a disgusting environment. They're charging you a subscription fee, right, just to play your games. That's absurd. On top of the cost of the console and the games that only work on that console, the same console that's going to be obsoleted very soon. I was just talking about, hey, I'm going to play The Secret of Monkey Island again. Obviously, they've released a special edition version of that at this point, but if I wanted to play the original, I could. It has its own little emulator thing called ScumVM, and it allows you to play all those old LucasArts games that were built on that engine. And it's very easy, very, very simple. You could install it on any PC. You could, you know, it's very simple. And that is something that I think definitely lends itself to games being more widely seen as art, you know? Imagine if a painter made his Mona Lisa, his Sistine Chapel, and it was only viewable or properly viewable for 8 years, 10 years, maybe 12 at the most. That, you know, a console life cycle. Oh yeah, this painting's super great. You can watch it for 12 years. You can look at it for 12 years, and that's it. That'd piss some people off, you know what I mean? And as a result of that, that's why I think games don't garner the respect that they should. That's why I don't feel that games will ever be respected to the point that they should until the consoles are gone, basically. Or, at the very least, with their role changed. Now, don't get me wrong. Consoles, obviously, you know, people love them because they have nostalgia for them, right? That's what people like about them, I think. That's the main thing that keeps people holding on to them at this point, is that they're super nostalgic about them, and maybe they're fearful of PC. Well, let's talk about those points just for a minute. We're kind of running out of Digistruct Peak here at this point. The extra Saturn time, because I got shitty bored, gave me a little bit more time to talk, I guess. Whatever. Because the games right now are being constricted, they're being built for the least common denominator first. I don't even want console and PC to share games to an extent. And that may sound super elitist, but what I wouldn't describe myself as an elitist so much as a separatist. I think that we are very near to mobile games being more analogous with console games than console games are with PC, basically. And I don't think it's very hard to see the writing on the wall with that. Obviously, the oh geez, somebody spawned with a pretty good weapon there. The consoles aren't that powerful. Jeez, that surveyor is killing me. Oh, I guess there were two of them. Jesus, getting wrecked. Alright, I'm gonna get one of them repair surveyors over here. Dang it, no I'm not. Ooh, I don't know if I was gonna fly over the edge there, but execute helped me out. So yeah, I mean, I want games to be viewed as art. That's not something that I thought up all on my... Or I guess I thought of it organically, naturally, but it's not a view that is at all specific to me. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people have said that before. So, if games are going to be viewed as art in the future, they can't have the console limitations. There's no way an artist would choose to paint his Mona Lisa, his Sistine Chapel, on, like, a postage envelope. You know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't happen. He would choose the dopest medium available. And the dopest medium available for video games is obviously PC. It's undeniably PC. PC's the only thing. Jeez. Having a big time trouble here. Where did this thing come from? Did he just make that? I'm almost out of ammo too. Jeez, had big time trouble with this constructor. Finally passed that. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. Yeah, I would consider myself a separatist. I don't want games to be hindered by console. That's why I don't like console. And it's really offended some people, I guess, that I've said, hey, the PS4 is a piece of shit. And that bothers some people. But when art's really good, when a song is really good, a movie is really good, you have a favorite show, you try to share that with your peers, with your closest acquaintances. You're like, yo, this is a piece of art. This has inspired me, right? And people do that with video games. That's one of the reasons why I'd consider video games art, because of that inherent quality. And, you know, that is something that people have tried to do with me with a specific PS4 game, Bloodborne. They're like, dude, I know you said you liked Dark Souls 2. This game's like that, except it's cooler because they add these wrinkles and this different aspect, and it's got a cool aesthetic and this and that. I'll let you borrow my PS4. Like, I've had friends try to lend me a PS4 to say, play this game. I want you to play this game, experience this. No, I cannot support that, because Bloodborne is a game that is marred by the fact that it is on a PS4. The biggest complaints with Bloodborne, the biggest complaints with the game, are two things that are due absolutely to technical limitations. People complain about the load times, and people complain about the frame rate. And sure, I guess if you're the most patient man in the world, if you're Gandhi level of patient, like Gandhi times Martin Luther King levels of patient, then maybe, you know, the load times just don't matter to you. Maybe you put an SSD in the PS3 or 4 rather, and it runs a little bit faster, right? Maybe. But you can't really forgive the atrocious frame rate. And some people are going to be like, oh, it's about the gameplay, not the frame rate, not the graphics. Bullshit. The gameplay is obviously affected by the frame rate, by the graphics. You can't deny that it's not. The gameplay is more enjoyable when you're fully immersed in it. Graphics help with that. Now, that's not always the case. There are obviously games that can be fully immersive without incredible graphics. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. However, to deny that a game like The Witcher 3 is made better by having incredible graphics or something, no, that's like one of the things that wowed people about Battlefront, which is a game with weak gameplay, that people are actually giving a pass in some cases because of the environment. So don't pretend that, you know, the graphics don't matter. And beyond that, the frame rate is absolutely paramount in importance because it is directly related to gameplay. Gameplay with a low frame rate, a combat system is inherently made shittier by a bad frame rate. No one can legitimately deny that. That is something that only a fool would argue. There's no way that you can pretend that a combat system is as good unless you're talking like a fucking Hearthstone game, a card game. There's no combat system that benefits, unless it's turn-based, I guess. Even then, it doesn't necessarily benefit, per se. There's no real-time combat system that benefits from having a lower FPS. They are all negatively affected by it. And that's a fact. That's something that people know, you know? But however, some people are still just gonna forgive them. And the consoles are just inherently anti-consumer in that way. You know you're getting an inferior product. And the hostageware, like console exclusives, it's ridiculous. Luckily, you can see that coming to an end with Tomb Raider being released for PC now. Luckily, I just don't see the current console business model lasting that long. It's so very anti-consumer, just to its core. And there was a point where consoles were more accessible, than PCs. That's not the case anymore. You can act like building a PC is hard. You can have anybody in the world teach you how to build a PC. If you want to watch a skinny Canadian dude do it, he has 1 million subscribers. He builds shoddy PCs all the time. Check out Linus Tech Tips. You can do it. If you want to see some really fat dude, there are a dozen of those guys out there. If you want to see a girl in like a tank top that barely covers her titties, reading off a cue card teaching you how to build a PC, you can do that, man. It's all there. Building a PC is so easy, and beyond that, it's way more useful for multimedia functions than a console. It's way more useful for productivity, which consoles aren't very useful for at all, despite a very few things like they've tried, you know what I mean? But basically, consoles don't hold the plug-and-play functionality that the ones of yesteryear that people are so nostalgic for did. It's not just put the cartridge in and play. You need a subscription, you need to download updates. It's a PC that you can't use for PC functions that they charge you more for over time. It's cheaper up front, but more over time. And I guess the fact that I've been so vocal about my distaste for consoles has really irritated some people. That's fine. Like Young Jeezy said, let them talk, let them hate, but they're going to watch the link and navigate at the end. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal. Just haters are going to hate and deal with it. It's always just don't, I don't know, you're going to get past the haters. It's not a big deal. I'm telling you, the haters don't bother me. Don't let them bother you. Like, I really enjoy, I wasn't going to talk about this, but damn, I have a minute at the end of the video. The DJ Khaled Snapchat stuff is fucking hilarious to me. Some people don't realize that it's like all a character that he's doing to get hype and fame and everything right now. Like, his We The Best store is constantly sold out of shit. You know what I mean? Like, people are hyped on DJ Khaled because of this Snapchat stuff. And so that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's hilarious. But like he says, they don't want you to have success. You know what I mean? But you can still go out and get it. I'm going to be a homeowner at 25. That's something I'm excited for. So I'm going to be putting out that new setup video before too long when I move into my new house. So just keep in mind, be successful even if people don't want you to. That's something you should work on. Go out, get a good job, work hard, be accountable. It got a little preachy at the end, but yeah, you know what I mean. As always, guys, I hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.